So this is my latest free template called Wedding Planner. You can track the different guests, the invitation status for each guest, events, tasks, and reception seating. So you click on this little shortcut to jump over to the settings sheet, as you can see here. We were just over an intro, so click this or just select it down here. In settings, you pick the year for your wedding, the month, let's just say it's December, and the day, the first, and then it just populates below. So this is used throughout the model to calculate how many days a certain task or an event is from today's date. These categories, invited by group and age, are used in this next sheet called Contact Input Sheet. For example, if we type in a name and we'll say Fred Smith, group is a drop down. So you see this little arrow, you click it, and let's just say you pick this particular group. Now, of course, you want to customize those to whatever makes sense to you. So you would type over these entries to change it. And the other thing would be age. This is pretty standard, the different options here. But if you really wanted to, you could come back here and type over these entries or add some more here below. So the next thing would be a comment. You just type it in, type in the address, phone number, email address. Invited by is a drop down. You'd click that, and here these options, let's just say we click groom, but back in settings you could customize this, type over top of these, or type some new entries below. So back to contact sheet, and of course it's always difficult to decide who you're going to invite. And in this particular drop down you have A or B. A meaning you must invite, and B meaning you should invite. So two options there. Tab to the next cell, invited yes or no, and you might be changing this. Some of the initial no's you could come back and change it to yes depending on your totals. Just a reminder, did you send the invitation, yes or no, and then did you hear back? So that's a lot to read, but I'll explain that in a minute. So you click on yes. Now the next part, see here it's called other event attendance. They sort of start off with this generic type event here. I typed in two things over top of the text that was here: engagement party and dress shopping for the ladies. So you would come in here and you would say yes for this particular person, and for the next one he's not going to go to the dress shopping, so we say no. And you see the total at the top. You have one no, we have one yes. If the next person was a yes, you'd see that change. So this yes and no is just sort of look up from where you are. So invited, one person's invited. If the next person we put in, we're deciding, well, we don't have enough space, you just leave that with a no. You don't have to continue, but you see that there's one yes and one no. So noting, let's take a look at this again: engagement party and dress shopping. When we go to the next tab, events, because these are all events, you would see first thing is the reception. We put this in the initial sheet here called settings. Remember, we added the date, so that's where we see it back here in sheet events. Now for engagement party, which once again these two things, you see how they're vertical here. Over in this part they were horizontal. As column headers, you just type over top of this default text. Anything in gray is an input cell. All these are just two shades of gray. They are all input cells, so you can't change any of this. It's white. This is gray. You change that. So back here we would say, all right, this is going to be the engagement party would be June 1st. Put a 1, and there's 10 days to go because today is May 21st, 2013. Because the wedding's taking place on December 1st, 2013, there are 193 days remaining. So all of this area, these are all formulas. These are all formulas. The gray cells, once again, are your input cells. Let's say this is going to be July 5th. 44 days to go. And this will change every time you open the file. So attending, it just looks back to our contact sheet. Whatever you put in here, let's just put in another yes, and then that would change our totals over here. So we have a yes and a no for the thing, the dress shopping, for the first one, engagement party, we have 2 yeses and 0 no's. Reception, let's change that. Where is it again? Reception. Okay, so we need to say, put in another yes. Let's just say we change this one. So they have to be, to RSVP, yes, they have to be invitation sent, and for this to be yes, you have to invite them. So those things all go together, and you see how it changes the totals over here. The next thing is the tasks. So every event you have, obviously there's things you have to do. So the tasks are little to-do items. In here, you can pick the different, you got the reception. I left one just blank. Engagement party, let's just say this task belongs to the engagement party. It could belong to nothing, and you just select the blank one. But let's just say it belongs to this. You type in the text here, whatever you're supposed to do. Let's say you have to schedule appointment, and then you just type some kind of a description here. And this is where you would say the due date. So the due date, year, month, and day, like that. Priority, you would say, let's call it high priority, and the status is that it's in progress. You have started. So you would just go through here, and you could pick, each row is a different task that belongs to an event, unless you just leave it blank. So the last thing is the seating selection. You go in here, and in the drop down, so once again, the gray areas are the input cells where you would pick from the list. These are just the column header, and you can just type over top of this. I've already changed one, and I've called it cousins, so it's no longer called table 4. This is a table for the cousins to sit at, and we're just going to go in here and pick Fred Smith. Now, why was this name in the list? Well, let's go, so he's right there. We'll go back to contact input sheet, and we see Fred Smith, that's the name. We see invited, yes. Invitation sent, yes. RSVP, yes. Let's go back and put in another name. So Janice. And we will say, okay, I've already got this filled out. Yes, yes, and yes. We go over to here, and we see both names. So once you select one name from the list, they can only be in one seat, so that name is gone. And you would pick the next name. So it's sort of a disappearing or shrinking data validation list. So now there's no more people to pick. When you click in here, there's no one in the list, because there's no one else that is ready to that we filled out. Let's just call this Bart Simpson. We go over to here, we select yes, yes, and yes. And now we will go over to sheeting selection, and we'll go to a different table. He has to sit by himself. He hasn't been very good. We'll say, there we go, Bart Simpson. So you notice that when we come back to this sheet, the names that are in green, that means that they are currently seated. So that's why there's the green color, if you don't want to read this long description I put. But look what happens if we come over here and if we do this. If we say RSVP, no, he's no longer attending. Why is it red? It's red because this person, our guest Bart Simpson, is not attending. There is a no, but he is taking a seat. So we have to come over here, and when we right-click, clear contents, or simply right-click and press the delete key on your keyboard, we go back here, and now it is no longer red. So that is basically the first version of the wedding planner. And if you have any comments, just send me an email on my YouTube channel. There is a way to do that, or you can go to my website and send me an email there.